Hey friend, I wanted to show you some of my favorite palette. I have a variety of needs, some for on the go and travel and the easy and lightweight, and others for when I'm here in my studio. And so I do actually really like to use these watercolors. I prefer Daniel Smith and also Winsor & Newton professional, not Winsor & Newton Cotman, which would be not professional. So those are my two favorites, the Daniel Smith watercolors and the Winsor & Newton Pro. And I have a variety of watercolors that I reach for lots of different reasons, but I come back to these when it comes to tubes. And then I really enjoy Neocolor 2 watercolors in this case that they come in as well. But before I talk to you about these little kind of travel cases, let's talk about these bigger ones in front of me here. So if I want somewhere to put watercolor and I am in my studio, I have a couple of options. And so I wanted to show these to you because I know that some of you ask about the palettes that I use. I'm linking all of this over on my supplies guide. I've got a supplies guide on my blog and it will have links to everything so you can go and check that out. So do check that out. And if you feel like this could help you out, then please do consider subscribing and hitting the like button so that YouTube knows to share this with others who might benefit from it as well. And with that, let's dive right into these palettes. So there's different options. Many people will tell you that their favorite way of doing it is the only way to do it. And so it might be that they use plastic or that they use ceramic. And I think that we have to do what works for us in our own space. And so you may have a need for something in a certain season and circumstance and want something different for another. Or like me, you need different things at different times. And so it's good to know what kind of options there are. Now, I actually have a course, Color Made Simple. I will link to it for you. And the Color Made Simple course goes into all the things about color theory and just makes it super, super simple. So in just a concise set of lessons that are very thorough, I'll walk you through the whole process of understanding how color works and all of that. So if any of this feels overwhelming and you really wish you understood how to make really beautiful colors turn out the way you want them to, it's actually really easy. You just have to know what you're doing. And I've seen people who are who've been an artist for years and years still make these same mistakes because they just don't understand their colors and they're just working with the colors that are given to them. But I can show you how to actually make sense of this if you need to. So check out my Color Made Simple course if that's useful to you. So in that course, I talk to you about these palettes, actually, how to set them up, how it all works. And so I started out actually with this this palette here. So I'm going to start by showing that one to you. So this one here, this was the very first color wheel palette that I set up. And it actually is, it's kind of fun and special to me because it has in it a number of watercolors that were passed down to me from my grandma that I'm still working through. And so I periodically pull this out when I want to do something that maybe helps me to process a little bit of the kind of things that she would create. And so that is kind of a fun thing for me to have. And I put it in this palette here. It's actually plastic, and oftentimes people will give you lots of tutorials online about how you can sort of rough up the plastic surface so that it doesn't stain in the same way that you kind of see with this yellowing here. And I am completely fine with it. It doesn't bother me, but it is really handy to actually have one that just comes clean every single time. And that's one of the benefits of using ceramic, is that it doesn't actually change color in time. You just clean it up and you're good to go. You can still see that pure color, exactly what you're going to get on your surface when you work with that color. Whereas here it will stain in time, but it kind of just is all the feels when you feel like your palette is lived in. So it's kind of swings in different directions. This doesn't actually feel lived in regardless how many times I use it, because it just stays so clean so easily, whereas this, it looks like I've used it a lot, and it's because it kind of ages with you a little bit. This one actually is designed by a guy named Stephen Quiller, and it has a lid like this that will just kind of fit right over the top, and so that's quite handy in order to keep everything nice and clean, because you don't want dust to get into your palette. And he does actually have a palette like this that is also a 12 by 12, this same kind of size, and it's a little bit bigger than 12, but basically just around this size. And the beauty of this is because once you know how to actually mix colors using the color wheel effectively, you can actually use all this space as your palette to mix your own colors and create all the colors that you want. You can create over 1,000 colors with just this right here. In fact, I show you how to do that in the Color Made Simple course. So it's really easy to do. You just need a few little skills and then some charts that I show you how to make, and then you can basically create over 1,000 colors. So in my mind, this is a really great way to save money, because you can get a palette, a plastic one from Stephen Quiller, for a fairly decent price, and then fill it with 12 or 24 colors, depending on which size you get, and then you have the ability to make just hundreds, if not over 1,000 colors, simply by just knowing how it works. And it really doesn't take much effort to do. So I think that this is so much fun. I've seen people use lots of palettes over the years, and lots of like rectangular ones. The problem is that you put your colors in there, and it's just the colors that you like to work with. It's great if, say, for example, you want to work with landscapes and you like to draw landscapes, or you draw a lot of flowers, and so you put the colors in there that you work with all the time. But then you're really just mixing a few of those colors together to get a few extra colors. With a palette like this, you put in just the right watercolors. I've worked out exactly what colors you need to put in from which companies, and it's all in the workbook. And then you can actually use that to create an innumerable amount of colors. So it is a really, really fantastic palette in my mind. I just love it, and I have really enjoyed using it, but I have to say that I love this even more. So this is nice. It does actually have on it just a little bit of a wobble because it's plastic, but it's really cost effective. So if I wanted to, I can actually invest and splash out and get a Stephen Quiller one that matches this. And it is quite good. They've got little markers here for you for certain things, and it's a handy one. And actually the ceramic one that he has like this actually has a lid for it, but is fairly cost prohibitive for most people. It's quite a treat, and you don't necessarily have to, because there are options out there. I would certainly recommend that you support Stephen's work if you can afford to. And if you can't, and you're in a position like myself where you just really couldn't splash out that much on a watercolor palette, then there are alternatives. And so this is actually one of those. It doesn't come with a lid, and so what I do actually is I just use a watercolor brush, this one in fact, which is just a poofy brush, and I keep this handy. I don't actually use watercolor. I don't paint with this one. I use it so that I can just, every time I'm gonna watercolor, I just give this a quick burst like this to get out any particles, because I don't want any dust to get out anywhere and start to get into there, because as soon as I add water, then all the dust is going to go in, and then it's going to go into my paintings. So when I give it a bit of a shake, then when I'm going over this with, say, a baby wipe to clean it up, I'm going to get up all of that dust that would otherwise be transferred into my paintings. So I put something over the top, but if you're in a dusty area and that happens, that's how you can actually get these clean and protect what's in there, or make yourself a lid or something like that. But you can save yourself a lot of money doing that, and there are options out there. So I will show you how to use it in the course, and I think it's amazing because, you know, everybody knows that when you mix like blue and red together, you make purple. And so these things actually, it's obvious, but then when you add so many colors in, you can start to feel a little lost if you don't know what you're doing. But it's actually real simple. So my favorite, and I mean, can you not see why this is a favorite? Look how juicy and beautiful that is. And I can't tell you how much pleasure and joy it brings me to sit down at the studio and just look at this and think, what can I create today? Because it's just so much fun to look at and so vibrant and beautiful, but it's also very practical. And I used a label maker to actually tell myself the name of the color. And I've bought 2 of these so that I have one with my Daniel Smith watercolors and the other one with my Winsor & Newton colors. And that way I've got my 2 favorite sets of watercolors available to me. And it is a sort of treat, but I do actually use them for teaching as well. So it is something that I can, expect to splurge out, especially because I made the Color Made Simple course and I was wanting to ensure that I could give everybody exactly what they need to know to be able to create the palette they're looking for. So I've also translated that into a number of other brands, which is really fun too. So in the course, in the Color Made Simple course, I have another palette that I talk to people about, which is this one here. And I will link in the supplies guide to where you can actually get these palettes. But if you want to know how to make them, like how to use them, then that Color Made Simple course will teach you. But in here, this has the divider right here. And what I have on here is cool colors. And on this side, I have warm colors. Can you see how there's sort of a sunny, bright feel to these? And I'll just put something over this like here so that you can kind of see. The temperature of these is very warm. It's sort of like autumn colors and sort of makes you cozy cozy. On the other hand, this is more like Tuscany, you know, very warm colors. On the other hand, this right here is very fresh. It's the ocean, the breeze, the brightness, the coolness, and that kind of chilly temperature. These colors are your cool colors and these are your warm colors. And I go into detail in the course about this, but what I've done is I've actually got Daniel Smith up here and Winsor & Newton over here. And you could just ignore this and just do these colors right along the bottom. So let's pretend that there's nothing in here. Then I've got 3 colors that are cool and 3 colors that are warm. I've got a blue, red, yellow, blue, red, yellow. And you can literally create tons and tons of colors with just these 6 colors in your palette. And once you know how to actually mix them, you can actually mix your own colors. So I start out by actually showing how to use this palette to make just however many colors you want for yourself with just 6 colors. So you can literally get a small palette like this. And then the thing is because I'm not mixing the cool and the warm, they're not competing with each other. So it's really good to have this divider here, which means that I have one space to mix all of my cool colors and they're going to play nice with each other. And then I've got all these ones playing nice with each other over here that are warm. And I can reach for the Daniel Smith version or the Winsor & Newton, which is perfect for me in my circumstances, but if you were making this, you could probably do your ones that you want here or here, and then just have some extra space for some extra colors. The concept here is that you can actually have just 6 colors, and you can make a number of colors for yourself using a palette like this. And so this is just working with primaries in a small palette. That's what this palette is about. Whereas this is about working with 24 colors. This is the primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary. And that is all in here. So you could fill it initially with just the sort of 12 main ones, and then add the extras for 24 later on if you wanted to. There's so many possibilities here, and because I've got these labeled, I know what to put in when I'm finished with the color, but it lasts a really long time. So a question that I get a lot is, what do I do if I put a color into my palette? Then what next? Do I have to use it all? No, not at all. You can see this is here, it's dry. I've had this in here for months, and all I need to do is just start using it. Depending on the brand, it may benefit you to have a little spritzer of water and to just quickly spritz this briefly and with a limited amount of water right as you're about to start with a watercolor session, and that will then bring it all to life and reconstitute the surface for you, and you'll be able to get more liquid off of it. And then if you don't use that color, it just dries again and it's fine. So there is no reason for you to have to use whatever comes out of the tube, and it will sit here for a long time, for years even, and work fine. In fact, the palette that I showed you earlier that is plastic is full of colors that have been there for several years, and they're just as wettable as ever. So it really does take a long time for these watercolors to not be usable. And I think that they are actually more able to be vibrant when you use a tube over a pan or something like that. However, these are not particularly friendly to take with you into like travel or go to a friend's house. I'm not gonna likely take this with me. I've actually got on the bottom here some little felt, and that way I can actually move it around on here and it's not going to make a bunch of noise, and the same on these. So that is handy, but if I want something for travel, then what I'm going to reach for is these right here. So what I did is originally Neocolor 2 Caran d'Ache watercolors, actually in this stick format that they've got. These watercolor pencils came in this sort of tin here, and they've graduated to this color of tin for right now. But the concept is the same. It's just a metal tin that is very, very thin, and when you pop it on its hinge open, then it just has a lid space. And I just started scribbling it into my lid and using this palette, and you can see I've gotten a lot of use out of it over the years. In fact, when I'm doing Bible journaling, I can fit this on an adjacent page right on my lap while I'm listening to a sermon or something like that, and just create right during a sermon discreetly at church, which I really enjoy doing. I take in the sermon a lot better, and I'm not a distraction to other people because I'm not even using anything other than my lap quietly to create and do this. And because I'm using a water brush, it has all the water right in the handle. All of this is right here, and it is so many colors, 15 colors in fact, right here, very easily. So I recently went out and bought a 10 color set and took all the colors out and put them to one side because I wanted the tin. And I just love the tin. This is actually not super heavy, but it's got some weight to it. It's some substance with these 15 colors in there. Whereas this is actually a incredible lightness, because what I've done is I've actually spray painted, I masked off with tape the outside of this, and then I spray painted the surface with a white paint that would be a glossy finish. And then when I was done with it, I went ahead and started using it as a palette. So on this side, I actually filled it with just a dot of the different colors around the color wheel, the 12 main ones on the outside, and then the 12 quaternaries on the inside. And then I've got these colors here that I can then use this palette for, and it works great. This is not as great as, say, this sort of thing here. It does stain a little bit, but I find it better than this solution where I just went ahead and went straight into their paint job, because I've got their logo and different things in the way per se. As much as it is a nice logo, it's nice to have the white space, and this gives that to me. And I actually can put this in my purse and take 24 colors with me. And to be honest, I went on holiday, I came back, I still had tons left, and I'd done plenty of coloring. It doesn't really take a lot of watercolor to do something, because we're not doing a really large amount of color for a small piece. So this can last a really long time, and that's just the Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2s, the 10 tin, and then I just took the colors out and put them somewhere else so that I could fill it with the colors that I've got in this. So I actually have 2 palettes here of the same colors, and this is incredibly great for travel, and this is incredibly great for a studio, and this is great if I just want to limit myself and force myself to use a few colors and get the most out of them. And this is great if I just want a few extra colors and want to just have some fun with these specific watercolors, because Neocolor 2 are really fun. So I've included this as a palette, even though it's not a traditional palette, nor is this, but they're mine, and you can certainly do something similar for yourself. So I hope you found this helpful. I've enjoyed sharing it with you. Again, I will link to these on my supplies guide. I'll link to the tins with the colors for these palettes, and along with the watercolors on that page, all my recommendations, and link also to my Color Made Simple course in case you are interested in learning more about how color works. I'd love to teach you. You can hop straight into the course and get started, and would be very fun to have you. So if this has been helpful, please do like this video and consider subscribing. You're so loved, and I will see you soon. Take care.